Where did it all come from? How and when did this universe begin? Since modern humans existed, and very likely even before, sapient beings have been pondering their existence and the existence of everything else. Many spent their lives searching for an answer, and it is said that some were driven mad by the search or by what they found in the end. Now it is our turn. And in our search we will travel through space, time and beyond. Now come with me to the Viking Age, to a land of biting cold and beauty harsh. The clash of sword and shield echoing through winding fjords, where men in meat halls by fire lit listened to the skulls. Viking poets of old tell of the beginning of the world. Can you hear them? In measured verse and kenning wise, they told of an age before the world existed. In the beginning there was only Ginnungagap, the yawning void, a primordial bottomless abyss that was, according to some, a vast space of creative power, both magical and sacred. The Völuspá, the insight of the theorist, describes the time before the world existed as such. There was an age when nothing was. There was no sand, nor sea, nor cool waves. There was no earth, nor sky, nor grass there, only Ginnungagap. To the north of this great abyss there lay Niflheim, a realm of primordial cold and mist and darkness, with its heavy ice and rime and freezing rivers flowing into the yawning void. To the south of Ginnungagap there lay Muspelheim, a realm of elemental fire, scorching heat and blazing light, whose crackling sparks flew into the great rift between. When the heat and sparks of Muspelheim met the cold and ice of Niflheim, inside the magically charged creative emptiness that was Ginnungagap, the bitter ice melted into poisonous drops that quickened into life and formed Emir, the primordial giant, the first being, the father of all Jötnar, and the one from whose body the world was made. But that is a story for another day. So, from fire, ice and nothingness, the world emerged. That is how it all began, according to the tales of the Norse. Now, let us turn our gaze from the north to the east, to a land of myth and legend, a land where marvelous powers and even immortality could be gained through diligence and discipline, a land where savage spirits of beast and bark ruled their realms with fearsome might, and woe to the unwary traveler who stumbled unbidden into their domains, and a land where even a mischievous monkey could become a Buddha. In this land of myth and legend there were sages wise in the ways of the world, who hid themselves away in mist-shrouded forests and cloud-covered mountains, and they too contemplated the beginning of everything. Through looking outward and inward, they discovered the natural flow of things, and they called it the Tao, the way. In the Dao De Jing, the great sage Lao Tzu, in chapter 42, writes about how the world came to be. Tao gives birth to the One. The One gives birth to the Two. The Two gives birth to the Three, and the Three gives birth to the 10,000 things. The Tao creates the One, a great unity, where everything was still united and there was yet no separation. From this great unity sprang forth two polar opposites: warm, bright, active yang, and cool, dark, passive yin. Yin and yang gave birth to the three that some call heaven, earth, and the life force chi. And those three gave birth to the 10,000 things, meaning everything else there is in the world. But was there something, anything, before the Tao came into being? According to some, there was, and I quote, apologizing for the mangled pronunciation, the Zhuangzi: during the time before things existed, there was only primal chaos. During the time before primal chaos existed, there was only the Tao. And during the time before the Tao existed, there was only the still quietude of nothingness. And just like Ginnungagap, the yawning void, this nothingness that came before and gave rise to the Tao did not mean merely nothingness. Instead, it was seen as the very root of being from which the Tao arose, a primordial ground of raw potential, a primal absence characterized by being charged with creative power. From primordial creative nothingness, Tao arose, which then gave rise to two polar opposites, from which everything else came into existence. So, both in the north and the east, the old tales tell of a vast creative nothingness, one accompanied by ice and fire, one followed by yin and yang. All well and good, some might say. Those tales were of some interest. But what might be their relevance in this modern age today? How could those stories hold their own against the hard-won facts of science? Prime among them, that energy always be conserved, can neither be created nor destroyed. How could something come from nothing while still adhering to scientific laws? Should you desire an answer, come with me to a land of not quite so long ago, where the men of Midgard tamed the power of lightning to turn the nights as bright as day, flew through the skies in the bellies of giant metal birds, and lost themselves and much of their lives in flickering pools of liquid crystal. For in this age there was a book that talked about how a universe could come from nothing. And just like in the tales of old, this nothing is not merely nothing. For even in a vacuum, on the most minuscule of scales, down, down, down in the quantum dimension, the supposed vacuum is actually a chaotic realm of fluctuating froth, the quantum foam, in which opposing subatomic particles can appear suddenly, only to vanish again just as suddenly, blinking in and out of existence. Now, what if conditions before the beginning of the universe were favorable and the fluctuations strong enough for them to remain not only in existence, but also create space and everything in it? That is what the book is all about. In short, the book posits that it actually is possible to create a universe from nothing, as long as everything inside the universe would add up exactly to zero. Seeing how we have a lot of positive energy in the universe, we would then also need enough negative energy to balance everything out to zero or nothing. Now, where might all that negative energy be that supposedly cancels out the vast amounts of positive energy we can observe in the universe? The book says that it comes in the form of gravity. Gravity as a form of negative energy, which can be readily experienced when we try to overcome our planet's gravity. Not only flying to outer space or to the moon, but also when trying to climb a wall, or jump as high as we can, or try to get out of bed in the morning, even though there might be other factors involved there. Seeing how there are so many celestial bodies in the observable universe, there might be enough negative energy to actually cancel out all other forms of positive energy. So to sum it up, something can actually come from nothing as long as everything adds up to zero. And so, let us look back to the tales of old. The Ginnungagap was an abyss of magically charged potential, with the cold of Niflheim, negative energy, and the heat of Muspelheim, positive energy, making the emergence of Emir, out of whom the world was formed, possible. As for the nothingness from which the Tao arose, we saw a nothingness from which emerged two polar opposites, positive and negative. And with it and through it, eventually, everything else. And thus conclude my musings on the origin of the universe. As we look to the north, to the east, and to the now, at concurring accounts about how the world emerged out of the void. And now, some poetry to commemorate the occasion. An ode to thee, O wondrous void, you source of all creation, and for all, for everything, ordained annihilation. From your spring of nothingness, a stream of quantum froth, flame and ice form warp and weft to form creation's cloth. The fabric of reality, entwined with threads of fate, gives rise to the 10,000 things from minuscule to great. As dust and stars turn endlessly around your great wheel's hub, we humble guests in your abode drink deep from offered cup. And after our wanderings, as hungry tides do churn, we gaze across from stranger shores before we all return. So in your hall of space and time, born from your cauldron womb, by alchemy supreme, divine, though it become my tomb, though entropy calls for my blood, with head held high and standing tall, I praise thee, void, Ginnungagap, O dark mother of all. And so we have come to the end of this video. I hope you found it worth your while. Until next time, wanderer, may your roots run deep and your crown reach high.